right. Well, welcome everybody to the Fit Beaute Report Podcast. I'm your host, Christina. And in today's episode, we have a very special guest with us. She is a woman in tech. She's a CEO, entrepreneur, and a tech investor. We want to welcome Srii to our podcast, guys. So stay tuned if that interests you. Welcome, Srii. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast episode. How are you doing today?
Well, doing great. Looking forward to this conversation, and thank you again for having me.
Yes, no problem. So, Srii, I want to jump right in, and I want to know what's it like being an entrepreneur, a CEO of your own company in tech.
Well, lots of thoughts run through my mind when you ask that question. It's definitely a position of privilege and also a lot of responsibility. Like they say, it's true that a lot of power comes with a lot of great responsibility because the decisions that I make every day affect hundreds of people and also our clients. So it's potentially thousands of people and other companies as well. So I take it very seriously. It's a lot of fun as well because no day is the same. I do not have a 9-to-5 job. Like I've never had it ever. And every day is so different. And I'm constantly being thrown in situations where I don't know all the answers to, but my mantra has always been everything is figure outable.
Oh, that is so true. Everything is figure outable. And I think that as you go as a business owner, you go day by day with a plan, but sometimes even your day doesn't go as planned, and there's things that happen that are out of your control. As an entrepreneur and a CEO of your company for Chargeback, how have you been able to manage those days that don't go according to what you had planned for that day?
That happens more often than you would think. It's probably more norm than an exception when things don't go according to plan in your day. Like I said, I get calls from people, so a lot of collaborative work that we do here, especially the chargeback industry is quite new compared to the rest of the industry. You've heard of companies that have been around for 50 years, 100 years. These industries have been around forever. But the chargeback dispute space is quite new, and we're truly one of the pioneers in this space, forging a path in the industry. So my job description includes the answer to that question that you just asked. So when things don't go according to plan, right? First, it's definitely a mindset. Like I said, everything is figure outable. And I go into my job knowing, I'm going to, which I thrive in. I love change. I love uncertainty. I like to say that there are generally two types of people. When you are face uncertainty and change, some people get anxious or they don't want it, too much. And some people get excited by it because it truly is an opportunity. You don't know what you don't know, but you know that type of change, uncertainty brings a lot of opportunities that you may not even know about. And that has worked out in my favor. I mean, think about it. The name Chargeback Gurus, nobody even, when I talk to even big billion-dollar companies, they don't know that we even provide these services. They face these challenges, yes. A lot of them are writing it off as a cost of doing business, or they're just doing their very best to handle it as much as possible, but they're not doing a great job at it. So we faced our very first disputes and chargebacks, and that's how we even got into the space in the first place, because it was like a big black box and there was no help. So that way, when I go into any situation, I figured it out. Like my past history and the mistakes I've made have given me that confidence and clarity that yes, when I go in there, I've accepted the fact that there will be things that I don't know answers to. Things will not go according to plan. And that knowing that and accepting it has made me much stronger, I think. And I'm able to deal with those situations much better today.
Yeah, that's so true. Now tell us a little bit about how did you get started in tech? I mean, what was the journey like to becoming a woman in tech? What sparked your interest? How did you just land in the actual position that you are now? Was it something that you dreamed up, that you were introduced to? Were you exposed to this? Was it some type of experience that you experienced in your life that led you to want to, have your own business in tech?
That's a great question. And I think that's several questions in one. So I'm going to do my very best. I have to start at the roots though. Like I grew up in India. I come from a family with that has an academic background. My father was a professor, at a high level professor at a university. My mom was a teacher. So I come from like some of a teaching background. And my parents always, let me explore what I wanted. They introduced me to the world of books at a very young age. So I grew up learning and just reading books. Sometimes I like to say in college, I learned more from books that were not, my college books than the other books that I used to read and magazines and everything. That truly helped me expand my mind. I got to know about worlds that I did not know exist through books and authors and magazines and all of those beautiful things. And when I got introduced to computer science, in school, I thought, well, why not explore that? So in high school, I got introduced to, computers and computer science. And I started learning that, and I got naturally good at it, and I excelled at it without having to put a lot of effort into it. I was like, this is interesting. I want to get to know more. Actually, my introduction probably was in the 5th or 6th grade. And I grew up in a very small town in India, so I had limited access to computers. I did not have computers at home. But when I get that access, I was very excited, and I felt that this was the future. And my entire family, especially I remember my grandparents, my grandfather, who used to live here in the US, when I used to visit, he would tell me, computers are the future, Sri. You need to go into computers. So I think that influenced me. He used to tell me, you know what? Education is something that nobody can take away from you, and tech is the future. And this was, in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I took it to heart, and I naturally, was interested in it, and I naturally excelled at it. I was like, why not? And so I chose computer science as my major in college. That's how I got into tech. And after my plan, honestly, was not to go into business. I never imagined I would have one business, let alone a few businesses that I started. It just happened organically, but it's, my tech background has always helped me, even though it was not, I used to have a revenue center business where, we used to take customer service calls, order taking, and help other businesses. It had nothing to do with tech, but guess what? Technology is in everything. So I use technology for running that business. So my tech background has always helped me. And that's one thing I want your listeners and to know. Technology is in every field. You may think I'm in a non-tech field, but even doctors are in a tech field in some way, right? They're using technology to provide their services, and everything is driven by technology. Your washing machines have technology. Your TVs have technology. I mean, we are connecting today through technology. So I always want to encourage more women, and I want to see more women in tech in leadership positions in my own company and other companies, especially in technology, because in my company too, there are a lot of women in junior and mid-level positions. My drive in the last 3, 4, 5 years has been like, I want to pursue more women where I can provide them leadership opportunities that they may not get otherwise in other companies. I hope I've answered all your questions. Those were great questions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. I feel like there's not enough women in leadership. And I feel like that has a lot to go back with, bias in our cultures. I'm also, come from immigrant families. Mexico, my family's from Mexico. So I feel like there is a underlining bias towards cultural barriers that women from different countries or children of mothers and fathers who come from different countries into the United States. There's already a bias that, girls are meant to be traditional. But because, the United States, I feel like is very multicultural, and it's always been that the American woman has been more rebellious, and she's been a little bit more, she has more freedom than any other woman in any other country. So I felt like for me as a woman in tech, my mother, knowing that right off the bat, she gave me the freedom to explore and to want to learn what it's like to be a woman in tech, or to take independence of my own future. And because of me, my brother exposed me to tech. And he was the reason why I am a woman in tech now, just because he gave me that experience. And then from there, I learned how to design businesses as well. What would be 3 steps or 3 really solid information that you would give to a woman who's wanting to step into a leadership position role? I feel like it's not something that is very much accepted, not only in our culture, but in general for women. Women stepping into leadership roles is always seen with a bias. It comes along with stereotypes. Even though we've came so far, and being in America, where the woman has much more freedoms, there's still the bias attached to it. There's still a stigma attached with our leadership styles. There's still a lot of stereotypes associated with if a woman can even accomplish being a great leader or being a good leader.
You're so right. First, I want to acknowledge the immigrant story. I can relate to it so much too. When I came here as an immigrant, again, I had a degree in computer science, but I did not have a job in technology yet, in the US, I mean. And I found a job teaching computer science, of all things. I was in California at the time. And I met my mentor and father figure, who was my boss, the head of the Department of Computer Information Technology. And he's the one who even asked me a simple question. Software outsourcing is getting bigger and bigger every day. Do you want to start a business? Like, I never thought that somebody would even ask me that question, knowing that, I just joined that department. But somebody, like you said, your brother introduced you to tech. Somebody got that in me to introduce me to even the world of business and technology and marrying that together to start a business. So it's important to have people who you can rely on, who can even give you an idea that you may not have thought about. And that's why I'm excited about this podcast that leads into your question about what are the 3 things, right? 3 or 4 things. I would say that first, have that idea. First, believe in that concept. Know that if you wanted to get into leadership, you are qualified to be there. It will take some time. It will take hard work. It will take you applying diligent work every day, and you will enjoy the ride, because if that's what you want, you're going to have fun in that ride. But know that you will have a place. Believe in that. Unless you can visualize it, believe in it, and know that it can happen, nobody can make anything happen. And you know what? When you start believing in it, a lot of times, especially women, we're taught, how will this happen? I don't see a way of this happening. If only I knew, like if somebody had told me in the beginning of my career, you're going to start 5 or 7 different business ventures and you're going to accomplish this, this, and this, I'd be like, I would not even get started. This is too much for me. I can't do any of this. But I started, one way to help me, I didn't know what I could not do. I did not know that I could not do this. I could not do that. I did not see at that time. I knew that even in my department, I was the only woman. I was also the youngest in everything. So I did not feel that, oh, I'm a woman in this. I was like, you know what? I don't have that experience yet. And I felt a lot of insecurity about it. Again, because I was the youngest. By virtue of being the youngest, I did not have as many years of experience as the other men did. However, I thought to myself, I'm going to work the hardest. I'm going to do everything and plus more. And I'm going to keep at it every single day, whether I feel it or not. Because believe me, there are days, you know this, Christina, you are an entrepreneur. You don't feel that every day, but it's not about that. It's about consistently showing up and doing your best and really conceptualizing and knowing that it is possible for you to land a leadership role. And when you land that, it's of course, it's also landing it, the prep for it, and then you got to keep applying. I wish I could shout out this message from the rooftops, and thank you for giving me this virtual rooftop. Women, apply to jobs that you don't think you qualify for. If you qualify for, let's say you think you qualify for 50%, apply. I have men applying. Let me call them aspirational candidates because they're aspiring to that role. They're not there yet. They qualify for 40% or less, but they're applying. Unless you apply, you're not even there in the ring, for that role. So that's another thing I would say. Do your best to prep and keep prepping and apply and put yourself out there. What's the worst thing that can happen? Somebody says no. But if you don't even apply, the answer is already no. You told yourself no. So apply. And then also, after you get that role, know that you will not know everything. Like I said earlier, same message. Everything is figure outable. And you don't have to know how it's going to happen, when, all of that. It will happen because everybody is in that same position. Think about all the innovators, entrepreneurs that have done things that you admire. They did not know how it was going to happen when they got started. I guarantee you that. So know that you will have days and decisions to make when you don't know everything, but you're willing to learn and take calculated risks. So when you have that, and you know what, to get to a place of confidence and clarity, know that you will make bad decisions, wrong decisions. That's the only way to go. But you're not alone. Everybody has that. So
That's
that
very
way you can prep, you get it, and then you can sustain that role and grow into it.
That's very true. Whenever we apply this, and in the beginning, we may not feel that we're adequate or we have the enough experience. But did you know that statistically, men feel the exact same way, but they don't care. They do it anyways, and they just learn it as they go. But they perform. Men are more performance based than women are. So men perform at a very higher standard so that they are able to prove while they're doing it that they're capable. And I feel like women don't do that. Women go right in feeling overwhelmed, or I've never seen this before. I don't know. And it's a mindset that we also need to shift in knowing that, okay, these are the steps. This is what I need to do. This is how I'm going to adapt, take initiative, and take control of the situation. And I can do this, and we're going to get it done. It's like taking care of a baby. Nobody gives us instructions for that. So,
Yeah.
and we do a pretty damn good job. So why couldn't you apply that same mentality into a job performance and taking that leadership role of taking care of another person's baby, which is their business, their job, their company, that they're, giving you the role to perform, even though you may not feel like you have that much experience in doing this. And so when you
I,
get there, yes, go ahead.
I couldn't agree more. Please continue.
Yeah. So when you get there, I feel like while you're there, it's never just, you got to just stay there and be complacent, and that's the end of it. I feel like there's still so much more opportunity to grow even when you are in that place. Right now we're looking at Generation Z, Generation X and Y, who are coming behind millennials and baby boomers and everybody. And you're starting to see also a shift in leadership positions, collaborations actually take effect, where you're seeing executives that are mentoring and collaborating with millennials, because millennials have a better understanding and a better grasp of this whole technology and this whole social media space, to help a company that they're just now coming into, and they might have been an entry level position that has now changed. Social media has changed the game for many of the executives, and I am so glad to see that many executives as well in leadership roles are starting to see that's important. So I feel like also too, it's no longer about women believing that they can't do it. I think like now women should actually take that initiative and really owning that capability and changing that mindset and eliminating the bias and that, stereotypes that we're inadequate or we don't have the experience, so that we can, really progress as women and culture as general as well, and to really moving forward for how that's going to be perceived from the millennials, from Generation X, Generation Y. They're not thinking that way. They're not believing that that's true anymore. And that's the thing where we're also seeing the shift in culture inside of the companies, right? Where the companies are starting to realize, the company culture is starting to realize that it is going to take a younger entry level performer to come and teach a top executive a little bit more of what's going on with technology. So it's very true. Like, I feel like we have to keep our position, but we never just should just stay there and just feel like it's done. Like, we need to continue to learn, and we need to continue to collaborate with others, with other millennials and other people, so that we know that it's a continuation of growing as well in our leadership role. How have you evolved and grown from 2019 during the pandemic, post-pandemic, up until now as an actual leader in your business and the CEO?
That's an excellent question. That gives me a lot of food for thought, and I couldn't agree more about having multiple generations teach each other. I'm very happy and proud to say that in our company we have people in their young 20s to people in their 50s, and mix of so many generations, and a lot of people from non-tech that we have introduced you to fintech. Because we have, my industry is very unique in tech. In tech, fintech is really hot right now, right? Fintech in terms of B2C, you see all of these innovators disrupting even banking. The big banks are now taking, notice of all these smaller companies and sometimes buying them up or collaborating with them, to your point, to say, oh my God, the Gen Z is working this way. They don't want to do, you're coming into a bank and being at a teller. Use Venmo or Zelle. It's like peer to peer. Why would I want to wait? And how do I integrate it into, let's say, your chat messaging? If I type something up in LinkedIn or, Facebook chat, if I mention something about payment, then there's a link saying, do you want to make a payment? So using AI and technology to make it more frictionless and seamless for people. And sometimes these older technology, the executives, like you said, don't get it. So you have to collaborate with all types of generations to understand where the current generation is and where the future is going, to your point. And for my own evolution, oh God, I sometimes call myself an accidental CEO. Like I said, I was planning on going to the tech field. I was just, I used to tell my parents, I'm going to go to do my master's. And in fact, I was accepted into several universities to do my master's. I said, maybe possibly even a PhD. I'm going to be a techie and a project manager, and I'm going to go, in that field. I'm still in the tech field, but I took a completely different turn. And that is something that I could not have even predicted, which I'm really happy about. I'm really happy that it took a very different turn, and I took those opportunities and just worked towards them, and an evolution, right? Since I do not have a lot of typical corporate experience climbing the corporate ladder, I had to learn everything on the job, including leadership. So I feel like in our company is generally, our industry is fast-paced with payments and fintech. And especially during and after the pandemic, I feel like every 6 months or so, I'm running a different company because it's so changing all the time. And, it's so common every day. I don't even blink. I don't even recognize change because that's just how it is. So before the pandemic in 2019, still, we were already in the cloud. Because like I said, I'm a fan of technology and using technology, cutting edge tech tools to deliver our service and product to not only clients, but also employees. So we were already migrating almost everything to the cloud. So when the pandemic hit, all I had to tell my team here in Texas was, pack up your things. This is a Friday. From Monday on, we're going to work from home. All of us. They were like, all of us? All of us. I don't know what the future is going to bring. Here's the announcement of a pandemic. I care about you and our safety. But we are able to work from the cloud, and we will continue uninterrupted service to our clients. And guess what? Knock wood, we have been so far able to provide uninterrupted service on time to our clients. We also have a team in India. We are a global team, and we also have a few members in other countries, a team distributed around the USA. And I'm happy to say that, we are almost a fully remote company right now. We do love collaboration, so we meet at the office when needed, but I always have a flexible schedule for our employees. We are a very people-centric company. So what I had to do was evolve myself and also help my team evolve, create policies and procedures, take a survey of employees. What can I help you with? We were such a tight-knit team at the office. Even though we had flexible schedules, we would come together, we would have these gatherings and fun things, and we wanted a young, fun tech company. And initially what we did was, okay, we miss each other so much. Let's get on a video call every day. And then we were on a video call every day, just chatting and getting along, just like we used to. And then we decided, okay, people said, not every day. Then we went to, every other day a week. And then we went to once or twice a week. And then, we had we didn't do a lot of happy hours. I didn't want to force people to come to happy hours if they didn't want to. But when you don't force people, they naturally show up. So we listen to our people. So that's what I evolved as, like, I have to listen to my people and all my stakeholders, not just clients, not just partners, but employees, vendors, and everybody that we work with on a daily basis. So my evolution was technology based. We had to evolve quickly and put everything on the cloud, put some policies and procedures in place, and help our people work clearly remotely from the cloud, strengthen our cybersecurity and all of that. And guess what? We also had to hire hundreds of people throughout the pandemic because, knock wood again, we grew over 200% during the pandemic last year. And that growth was fast and furious, which I'm very grateful for. That brought in a lot of challenges. And I like to use this example that I explain to everybody. Imagine having an airplane in flight, right? It's in the air. You have to redesign and re-engineer and rebuild that aircraft, but you have to keep it in motion while you're onboarding new clients and onboarding new employees. So that was the biggest challenge I've ever faced in my life, but I could not do this without the help of my team. So we fostered that people-centric culture. We work with our clients and our employees to create some policies, like I said, and strengthen our security so that we can continue to work from home, which we continue to do today.
That's really awesome. I want to touch back on a little bit from the very beginning of what you said. And you had said, since you are not a corporate leader, because you didn't work your way up through the corporate ladder. And I feel like that's very important. Real entrepreneurs are made that way. And so I'm saying that because we don't have a leadership structure for us. And sometimes it becomes what the corporate leader leaves with their business and starts a business versus an entrepreneur like you and I, who are right off the bat, we just build it as we go, and we're building year by year, and we don't have a leadership, traditional leadership, like what corporate sees as leadership. So what would you say to an entrepreneur who is trying to find the balance between being professional, but being authentic and true to who they are? Sometimes I feel like women feel we have to show we're very professional, but then we can't show who our personality is at the same time. And I understand that in corporate, that's very true across the board, which we are talking about corporate leadership going up the ladder, but I'm not talking about that corporate leadership. I'm talking about the real entrepreneurship leadership. How do we tell our audience, the women who are struggling or not struggling, but wanting to find that balance between staying authentic and staying true to who they are, but at the same time, looking professional? I know, for instance, for me, I sometimes I'm very proud to be a woman. I'm proud to be a woman because I feel like we, from the get-go, when you're born a woman, oh, it's a woman. So we're already handicapped. We're already thought, she's a woman, so she's not that strong. So we're already handicapped. But I feel like a woman is a revolution. Just a woman is a revolutionary. And to me, I'm proud to be that. I'm proud we're very multifaceted. We can be mother. We can be a businesswoman. We can be the strategic partner. We can be the development partner. We can be so many things at once versus a man is not so multifaceted. He's very precise and very specific, and he's just one way. He can't multitask. He has to focus on one way and be in one way, right? So woman, she's so multifaceted. I feel like as a woman, for me, the bias against, oh, her skirt is too tight, but she's a professional, or the stereotype that comes with that. And it's like, but if we learned not to judge, or if we learned not to criticize a woman because she might be, her way maybe a little bit more than the other woman, and that skirt might fit her a little bit tighter. Why do we look at those things, and why should we care? But in reality, it's like, if you're true in your authenticity of who you are and what you represent, then it shouldn't matter. So how would you tell others and describe your way and your method for staying true to who you are as an entrepreneur and a businesswoman?
You're asking some excellent questions, Christina. I love it. Because these are some real struggles we all face. And I'm so glad that we're talking about it openly in a public forum. That's number one, because when I was beginning my career, I couldn't talk about this to anyone. It was not, like you said, you had to be professional, but don't show this. You can show this, but you're not able, supposed to show that. Clients may not want like this. They may like that. There are some unspoken, unwritten rules you pick up along the way. And I try to conform because, I wanted, to grow my business. I wanted to, succeed in this world. And it was new, especially as an immigrant, right? It's a new culture. At the same time, I'd been to the US many times, so it was easier. I was exposed to it before. But just like you said, in the US too, there's a lot of unspoken rules about women. Women need to be this. You can be ambitious, but not too ambitious. You need to be outspoken, but not too outspoken. But where's the line? And it's like arbitrary sometimes because it depends on that person or that group of people or the audience or the company culture. So number one for me that helped me was to first get clear about myself, as about what is my authentic self. Who am I wanting to be, or what is my authentic self? I do have I like to think a great sense of humor. I would love to have fun while I work hard. I'm very serious minded too. I've always been that way. And I've been a very responsive and responsible person. How do I also have fun while I work? I'm showing up to work and spending most of my work hours with my colleagues and, my team. So what is my authentic self? How do I want to define it for me? That would be the first question, right? If I don't know it, how can I express it to other people? And it took me a while. I did a lot of work. I would do journaling. I would really think about and self-reflect. How did I interact in this, team meeting today? And was I bringing my authentic self? Or was I also tempering myself, saying, oh, this authentic self is not appropriate for this event? So I started by self-reflecting. I call it self-reflecting. That requires, that's essential. Man, woman, child. It's a great quality to have. That's how you learn and grow. And I also started observing other people as well, more women in business. And it's so great now that we have more role models and people you see. So learning from other people and observing them, how they speak in leadership, the way they also conduct themselves is very important. And guess what? Humans, all of us have a sixth sense, right? We all know when somebody's being authentic or not. You can only fool so many people at so many times. So when you start becoming clear, the clarity inside yourself will start showing up when you exhibit those qualities. And you know something, Christina, the great news today is so-called feminine qualities that were like, why are you a leader, should never do that, are being celebrated today. We talk about collaboration. We talk about inclusivity. We talk about listening to others. We talk about servant leadership. Servant leadership is all about that. It's not about me. It's about you first, because your success automatically means I am successful. There's no me and my success only. So those qualities are actually being praised in both men and women today, right? That's been more prominent. And I also listen to a lot of podcasts like yours. I read books. Sometimes when I don't have the time, I have a great app called Blinkist. It gives me like a gist of a book in like 30, 45 minutes that I can go through. I read a lot of books from other leaders, men and women. And that has helped me say, okay, I will not, I'm not here to emulate them, but just take the qualities that I think that are authentic to me. And when I speak, I don't have a script. Just the way, I used to talk about kindness, to be respectful to other people, whether you deliver a feedback, whatever you may deliver, the message is important, yes, but the way you do it, when you do it, in front of who, the words you use, like they say, right? It's important as to how you talk to somebody. Talk in a very respectful and kind way. It's now acceptable in business. Before, people used to think that's woo-woo. You just have to deliver the message and move on. Yes, I will, but you also have to treat a human being like a human being. They don't have to always agree with you. That's not a point. The point is, have a great, respectful, professional, fun conversation. at all levels, medium, easy, medium, difficult, all types of conversations. You can have respectful conversations with people. And those are the things that I bring to the table. Once I got clear with myself as to how I truly want to be, I also stopped caring too much about what other people are always thinking of me. I grew up being a people pleaser, full disclosure here. That was very difficult for me to come out of in the beginning. But the more and more I saw other people being their authentic selves, and I learned from them, and I got clear within myself, I'm like, yes, I don't want to hurt them. I want to, be liked and be likable. Yes. But you just also have to be effective in your job. So I think that, being that authentic self is a journey, and being true to yourself, to get clear with yourself, people will start respecting you for it.
That's
because you're being
absolutely
authentic
correct.
with them.
Yeah.
They don't have to like it. They will respect you for it.
And do you feel like for a woman, it's a little bit harder for us to get our respect or earn our respect when it comes to being a woman in tech, or just being, we're women in tech, and then the series is women in tech. However, it's just women in tech is the industry that we're in. How would you say that you felt like is our leadership given to us? Is it earned, or do we prove ourselves in order to be in this industry?
I think that so far I can only speak to my personal experiences and some of the experiences I've had with, other colleagues, friends, and women like you. It does take more. It has taken me more to earn the same respect that my business partner and life partner does. Between the two of us, we don't really care about gender or anything like that. We treat each other as total equals. We are different, but guess what? We're equal. Equal and different exist at the same time. When I went out to the world at conferences, trade shows, talking to clients and other people, that's when I started noticing sometimes a jarring difference, sometimes it's subtle. And the first few times you face it, it's like a shock to your system because you're not prepared for it. Because that's not how I was treated at my home. In my home, my parents never differentiated between me and my brother or other cousins, whoever. The only thing was like, hey, everybody was treated equal. You can be different. Follow your path was the message given to me. So when I started going to the outside world, I started realizing the outside world. The first few times I didn't know that, and it was very surprising. I used to get mad and frustrated. Why? Why do I have to? I have had comments, like personal comments, like, you look too pretty to be in tech, or, oh, you're the CEO, and because my co-founder, president, husband is not the CEO, although we work like co-CEOs, but the title itself or something affects them, and they have been asked some very intrusive questions. Again, like I said, women have to be prepared for it. I wasn't in the first few times. And so I've had to learn to ignore those comments and be confident in myself because I started questioning my own competency. Even though we are both equal, right? We both treat each other equally. Until I started facing that, I started questioning, am I acting in a certain way where I'm coming across this way or that way? But after a lot of self-reflection and also some, experiences shared and with women, I've come to the conclusion, and it's true, that it's not my problem, it's theirs. So I've tried to use, my best technique is like whenever somebody asks me a question where I've been asked like who wears the pants in the relationship, literally to my face, I learned that, I'm going to put the question back to them, asking them why they're asking me this question in the first place. That puts the onus on them to think through, what is your intention in asking me that question, right? I don't want to answer all these questions. So it has taken me some extra effort to earn that respect, professionalism, because sometimes people naturally assume, and they start talking to him about computer science or programming. And he has a tech background too, but it's electrical engineering and other computer hacking and networking. So sometimes I've had to say, I'm the programmer here. You can talk to me about this. So I think that the more and more women and girls see this, and we push back against this by just being subtle and using humor or whatever is appropriate, we need to do that. And that, like everything else, the more and more becomes norm, the more and more women enter the workforce, and it's not just entering the tech field. A lot of women are leaving it. You know why? Because they're feeling unsupported and they're being unsupported. You've heard about all these scandals from these big tech companies where what they call the tech bro culture. Yeah, it does exist. But guess what? To me, I've always said this, especially to women and underrepresented, underprivileged people, women, and it could be anyone. We got to be collaborative. Collaboration, not competition. That's always been my mantra. In my company, I always say this. Literally, in my company, there's no glass ceiling. You want to succeed, you come from a non-tech field, you're in a junior position. I want you to go up to the C level if that's what you want. And I don't care who you are, meaning not about gender, not about race, religion, none of that. I want to have these, especially these underrepresented, underestimated people, because guess what? I have been underestimated, but now I welcome it because I know that the people that are underestimated work even way more and way more have great attitude and qualities because they have to prove themselves more. But guess what? I think in the next 10 years, it'll be very interesting to watch as more and more underrepresented people enter the workforce and we start pushing back and saying, yes, I belong here at the table, just like you do. It's not just me who has insecurities. I've spoken to enough men to know this. Every single person, you may think there's a CEO, a guy who's running this, big public company. They also have insecurities. They also have worries. They don't always feel confident about themselves. They're just great at not talking about it or just doing their thing, like you said, to your point. And I think women, when we talk about this openly and we accept, yes, I am also vulnerable. I feel these insecurities too. But guess what? We are in this together. And it's okay for you to feel these insecurities and still do it. I think those messages, when they become the norm, I think we will be able to conquer these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great that we're having this discussion. It is something that needs to be normalized more, normalized for women. I feel like there's so many, like we said, the bias, the stereotypes, the inclusivity that, needs to include women, needs to include these topics in our culture, in tech, in different areas of different industries and different areas of business. Without women, there's so many different assets that women bring as a woman to a company. It's been statistically proven women help businesses save money. And I mean,
it's in our nature, right?
Yes, it is our nature.
Yeah.
And so that already right there should be like something that women come in knowing and knowing that they bring that asset with them to the table. I'm going to save you money. I'm going to save your company money if you allow me this leadership position. Otherwise, you come in just right off the bat feeling like you don't have the experience. And so you're going to have to prove yourself. But if we're able to normalize, no, we've come so much further than that. Come to the table feeling like, you have something to bring. And what is that? It's statistically proven. We can save money. It is. And even if we do feel insecure, it's okay to feel that. And I feel like feelings in business don't really mix. Sometimes we let the feelings, because we are women and we're very emotional creatures, we let the feelings mess with us into making us believe that we're not adequate or we can't do this just because of that feeling. But if we can push through that feeling and we can make that feeling, normalize that feeling, then the feeling would be, okay, I know that that's what I feel, but in reality, it's statistically proven we can save money for a company. And it's important that we normalize those type of conversations. And that's why I'm really glad to have you here and vocalizing and speaking on these subjects and these issues that really do affect women CEOs, women entrepreneurs, women in tech, and just women in business in general. It's not, I don't believe that for us, it's an easy path, and it's not something, it is very much a bro society that men still are one of the top. I mean, men still run the world. Like they still are the leaders in many things, and men and women still lack in those positions. Like we're not even fully there. So I feel like it's not, but also too, I want to touch back on a point to what you said. You said how collaboration with men, it's important. And I believe that it's very, very important. It's very, very important to have that really that collaboration and that partnership with men, to have both sides represented. Men and women work really well together. I feel like when men and women work together, great things happen. And I feel like that should also be something that's focused on and really driven in company cultures, to say we need a woman leader and we need a male leader, because women and men need to work together and collaborate and leading a group of people, leading our teams, and leading, different departments in the company, so that there's different perspectives being brought to the table. There's always the lack of not knowing how to go to um, a male leader for something that a woman is going through, or having, or needs the mental health, or needs, the sexual the discrimination that's going against them, or if they're having some type of inadequacy in themselves, and really need the model of a female to be presented to her. And I feel like that's also something that goes back subconsciously in a woman's mind, where we haven't really had a much female role models in our lives, to really say we want to become role models, or we want to become leaders. It's not necessarily about being a role model, but it is very much about being a leader, and in something that we want to, lead in a company, or for ourselves in our own business. So how would you say to other women who are also looking to take initiatives in leading for themselves, something that they may not, see in front of them, and be able to know that they're searching for that model, or they're looking for a role model, or maybe a woman mentor, or a woman leader in leadership, who not idolized, but someone who they can look up to, and maybe they're not amongst come from a family where they have women leaders, where they have women in leadership in their families, where they work at a company who has any leadership on their teams, or even in management. So what would you say to those women?
It's so true. A lot of times I've also been in meetings, especially at the decision-making higher level, where, you have C-level execs and these powerful decision makers. It's mostly men, and I've been the only woman on the call. And I noticed it, and I don't let that phase me or now or anything. In the beginning, though, think about my 20-year-old self. If I had been in those calls and I was the only female, I would have been hyper aware of it. And also, I can speak from personal experience that women do get interrupted more. I've been interrupted more, and I've learned how to deal with it in meetings, regardless of my position. And it is important for women to mentor other women. That's why one of my mantras is collaboration, not competition. Competition in a positive sense is great with yourself, and maybe friendly competition with the rest of the team or something like that is great, but not putting somebody down. Because as we keep growing these conversations more and more, and Christina, when people like you coming up, the younger generation too, with podcasts and conversations and awareness, there will be more seats that open up to women and underrepresented people on the table. Decision-making table is what I'm talking about. And it's up to us who already have that position to be helpful to other people and bring us up. And women do that. I've seen so many women in payments, fintech, wherever I go. I used to hear about the stereotype of, oh, women put other women down. Of course, in every men or women, there are people who do that. So why is it only women? I've seen men do it, put other men down because I want to get up, and it's not stereotyped. So it happens with people, period. I don't care who you are. It happens in every group of people. But rather, I've also seen women who make an intentional push and effort to bring other women to the table and to coach and mentor them. In fact, I was going to bring this up about being a mentor. There are several organizations, nonprofit organizations, and I belong to one in DFW. I know that that's where we also met when I was on a panel. where we volunteer. We say, hey, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or other places, and I want to volunteer and help other women. Just give answers to their questions, like what you're doing right now. Hey, I'm facing the situation at work. I don't even know who to talk to, and I don't know what I'm getting into. My HR department is of no help, and there are no women at the table at the management level. Can you help me handle this? In fact, I do it also informally with my friends. I have friends from their 20s to their 70s, and I help them in the sense that because I wish other people had helped me, and which people have. So I want to pass it on. That's just how I grew up. My parents instilled that in me. Pass on whatever you get, because that's the only way we can actually grow together and be strong together. So what I do is, for even yesterday, last night, I was talking to a young friend. She's just up and coming in her job, and she said, I want to ask for a raise. I don't know how to do it. I feel so anxious and I feel so afraid even. How do I talk to my boss? I know what I want to say. So I gave her, literally, she wrote down a script. I knew she knew what she wanted to say, but how do I say it? How do I phrase it? When do I say this? Do I have to, if they come back to me with this, what figure should I ask for even? What amount should I ask for? Is it too much, too little? Am I asking for too much? Will I be fired? Those are some normal questions and fears that everybody has, but they don't know where to go to. So I got on the phone with her and I said, here's how you do this. If this happens, this, and this. And I've seen other women do it. It's not just me. And sometimes, another myth is women are not financially savvy. By the way, I am in financial technology, so finance and savviness and technology. And I also lead my finance department in the company. And we recently got a PE firm investment in our company, and they told us that they were impressed with our EBITDA, our profitability, and our growth. And guess what? I mean, I'm humbly saying this. I'm the one who made that focus, because when you're growing, and you want more clients, sometimes it's like, let's sacrifice profitability. Let's take anybody at any price, even though we offer the best service. And I used to tell my salespeople no all the time. No, I will take some loss leaders, yes, but not everything. Here's what you need to do. So my point is, women can be great at anything they want to be, including finances. And I make decisions about my financial investments, which mutual funds or what strategy I want to take, not only in my business, but also in my personal life. And if I can do this, anybody who wants to can do it. You don't have to be like a PhD in finance to do it. You can learn. And I want to say to all the people that are listening in this podcast, men, women, children, everybody, please help other people succeed. People that you don't know, strangers, succeed. Not only are you helping them, the best part is you're helping yourself. You feel so happy and satisfied when you do even a small thing for somebody, because you already know that nobody's a competition in that way where you have to put them down. Okay? Because ultimately it will come back to bite you no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we had such a great discussion, Sri. I really feel like we talked on many subjects that, bring a lot of awareness for women in tech, but just in general with the bias, the stereotypes that women face, being a leader in tech, or being a leader in general, being a leader in business. It has been a great discussion just talking to you on these things. Are there any last words that you want to leave with our audience, with our women, that might be encouraging or inspiring, or just, leave them with a thought? And then also, too, if you can tell us how they can get in contact with you through social media.
First, I want to thank you and your listeners for tuning in, and thank you so much, Christina, for this wonderful opportunity. It was great to meet you at that panel, and it's been wonderful. I've been enjoying myself just talking to you and to your audience. Well, there are so many things that I want to say. I want to boil it down to, like I said, know your worth. And how do you know your worth? Do some self-reflection, and please know that you're not alone. You're not alone in your feelings, or feeling insecure or not knowing it. Nobody knows everything at the same time. We are called pioneers. Pioneers are called pioneers and innovators for a reason. They went into something that they never knew anything about, nobody knows about, and they discovered or invented something. They forged their own path, and that path is not always at the top like that. It goes up and down all the time. The graph is always never linear. As long as it's trending up, you're good. So know that you're not alone. Know that you can also go out and seek help from other people. More and more nowadays in this day and age, I see online, communities of solidarity and support. So to talk about this, to know that you can go to somebody and ask them, because there are other people who are pioneers who have forged the path for all of us. I've had role models. I still have mentors that I reach out to. I have a mentor. I have 3 mentors actually for different areas of life. So I call them life coaches. We all need mentors. We all need somebody to go to clarify our thoughts, including I go to my own, like I told you, my business partner, my life partner. I go to Suresh and Suresh comes to me and we talk openly about everything, because that's the only way for us to better ourselves, learn from other people, and also get that support we need. We're not social beings, right? That's why we have social media. So know that mistakes are also inevitable. It's okay to make mistakes. I have made mistakes that have cost me literally 7 figures over the course of my career. 7 figures if you add up. But guess what? I'm still here standing, successful. Guess what? It stung at that time. It is not easy. I'm not saying, oh, it's all great. No, I wish I had not made those mistakes, especially when it's happening. I had to face those consequences. But guess what? I now think back and say, oh, I'm so glad I made that mistake early on in my career and faced that consequence, because today, if I made that same mistake, I would have way greater consequences, because my company is bigger. I'm part of a much larger group. So know that mistakes are inevitable, but I don't want to even call them mistakes. Call them life experiences. It really is a cliche, but it's true. I want to leave you with that, and you can still stay strong. Thank you again.
Oh my goodness, 7-figure mistakes. We are going to have to bring you back. We're going to have to do another episode, and where that's so good. I feel like there's so many different areas of entrepreneurship and being a woman in tech, a woman in business that we don't really get to hear about. And one of them are 7-figure failures, and you are like at the top. I mean, you are a great woman in tech and lead a great company. So just to hear your experiences and how you call those mistakes experiences, instead of looking down as like that was a mistake and you stayed there. It was like, no, I got back up and look at where I'm at now, and I'm standing still because of those mistakes. And that to me is such resilience. And so we definitely will have to bring you back so we can speak on that, so you can touch on that right there. It would be a great conversation to have, and I know that our audience would definitely enjoy that conversation as well. Sri, where can our audience members find you?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm on LinkedIn. Search for my name. I'm on LinkedIn at Srii Srinivasan. I'm also on Twitter. And you can also reach us at www.chargebackgurus.com.
Great, guys. Well, you heard it first here on the Fit Beaute Report. As always, guys, thank you so much for lending me your ears and tuning in today's episode. Peace and love as always.